So we are going to look at cancer. Mshaisikia kuhusu cancer? Saratani. Okay? So it's a pandemic because of the number of deaths and disabilities it's causing among many people. How many people here have cancer? Kwa ishara ya mkono. Ama hamjui? But the other thing is, it's almost difficult to know whether you have cancer in the early stages. What you know, it's you're making cancer cells on a daily basis. And we also have stigma associated with those people who have been diagnosed with cancer. Okay? Stigma plus fear. There's a lot of panic. In fact, most people who die because they were given a diagnosis of cancer, it has to do with the fear that comes with that diagnosis. Now, I have so many videos on my YouTube channel, including the 10 commandments of health that you can use to reverse and manage any disease, okay? So my channel is called Disease Reversal and Mitigation Studio. And you can get as many videos on any topic you want. Now, let's get into cancer. Now, wale watu ambao huwa wanapenda ile section ya stars. Inaitwa stars ama. So you want somebody to predict about a good future for you. There's a symbol of the crab and the Greek, this is a crab, see a scorpion. The Greek term for crab is cancer. So anything that behaves like cancer is called carcinoma. Now, if you are to stop this animal from moving into one direction, it moves to the other. So it can move in all directions. Okay? And that is how cancer is. Moving in all directions here may mean it can affect anyone, including a newborn baby. And wherever it starts, it can move into any direction. You've ever heard of metastasis, eh? So you can have a cancer in the ovary. It will end up moving into the brain, into the bones, into the lung, into the liver. It can move in any direction. Now, for those people who are interested in knowing people, who is this? Joyce Lavoso, thank you so much. There were some people who were not who had not been born during the time of Labos, but she died in 2019 because of ovarian cancer. Initially, she had cervical cancer, and it was treated with chemotherapy. Somehow, chemotherapy causes secondary cancer, and therefore, she contracted ovarian cancer, which killed her in 2019. By the way, it doesn't matter where you go for treatment. If cancer is in the late stages, you have to go. So, meaning the best management or approach to cancer is prevention. Okay? It's prevention. We also need to have a lifestyle change to be able to combat this disease. It's a pandemic. And I'll give you the figures. And before I give you the figures, tell me, who is this? He died of colorectal cancer in 2019 also. Who is this? Wewe. Ebuta mayo mate. Okay. Who is this? Ken Okoth. He was the MP for Kibra. He died of which cancer? Colorectal cancer. Among the leading causes of cancer among adults. This guy died in 2017 of pancreatic cancer. Who is this? The former governor of Nyeri. This guy died of pancreatic cancer, a very dangerous cancer. In fact, if you have this cancer, you die of malnutrition because you cannot synthesize anymore enzymes that are used for digestion. Okay? So you will eat, but you'll not be able to digest that food. So you end up dying of malnutrition, though you have. So pancreatic cancer is that bad. Eh? So died in 2021. Who is this? Kalembe Ndile. This is another guy who died of leukemia in 2019. Who is this? Yes, Bob Collymore. He had a lot of money. He had a bone marrow transplant, but he died within the same year of the transplant. Okay? Leukemias are bad news, and we need to know how to prevent it. This guy died in 2013 of esophageal cancer. And this guy could be the person who has caused Raila Odinga to die before he attained presidency. Okay? Who is this? You know him, eh? Yeah, he was the head of ECK, when it was ECK, yeah? So esophageal cancer, a very terrible cancer. You never know the taste of food if you have this cancer. So if you're not able to taste food, you have depression. Because you no longer stimulate your pleasure center anymore. So these people, apart from dying of the cancer itself, we also die of depression, okay? So what does depression do? It knocks down your immunity. If you don't have immunity, you cannot fight cancer. Very important. This lady died in 2011 of ovarian cancer. What is her name? Yeah? Wangari Maathai, the lady who hugs trees. Wonderful. Now let's go to something from the Bible. Do you know how cancer starts? There's something we call decay in the body and also death. So at one point we are told in Genesis 3:17, after our first parents fell into sin, God cast the earth together with the body together. So verse 17 says, and unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of who? The wife, eh? How many men have been led into trouble because of women? But how many women also have also been led into trouble because of insensible, unreasonable men? Okay? Hey, let me tell you something. Are you married? Do you intend to marry? So the person you marry will determine how long you're going to live. How? She's the one who cooks your food. Are we together? Yeah. So if she cooks poison, you end up eating that poison. Kama amejipaka nini kwa makucha na kona perfumes, okay? There are chemicals we call forever chemicals. These days, they are making ladies look beautiful, okay? But at the cost of health. So some of them are waterproof. You can keep a very nice complexion even in the sun or in the rain, okay? And these chemicals can come out and get into the food. Kwa sababu wanakupikia kwa hiyo mikono. Tuko pamoja? Wanaume. You end up eating those substances, eh? And because they are non-biodegradable, meaning they are not easily broken down. They have very strong bonds, carbon and fluorine bonds. So they accumulate in the body. You cannot easily get rid of them. And therefore, they end up inflaming your body until you get what we call any of these cancers. And most of the cancers you can get is prostate cancer for men, but the same ladies can get breast cancer, uterine cancer, cervical cancer as a result of those chemicals. Kwa hivyo chagua vizuri kama hujaoa. Lakini kama umeoa, hebu keti na mke wako. Mwambie hao mavitu aache. Kukuletea chapati na kucha zinapita mpaka chapati. Sasa, we need to be very careful. Eh? So, this guy obtained a curse as a result of the wife, and God said something, which is very important. And this is, thorns and thistles now the earth will bring, so be injured. In the sweat of thy face shall thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it you are taken, and into it you shall return. So this means what? Anytime you see yourself sweating, you are killing cells. There is wear and tear. On a daily basis, you are wearing away. Now, the cells that die need to be taken out of the body through what we call the 4 elimination systems: the urine, the sweat, the feces, and the lungs. So if you don't get rid of those cells, what happens? They become the foundation of cancer development. Are we together? Sometimes the body tries to wrap up those cells somewhere and you get a tumor. But if your body manages to get rid of those cells, then you excrete them and you survive cancer. So on a daily basis, you are destroying up to 10 billion cells. And these cells need to be eliminated. If they are not eliminated, you end up getting tumors. Now, the body may succeed in enclosing that tumor so that it does not spread. So we call it a benign tumor. But if your immune system is weak and it allows the tumor to spread, we have what we call cancer. Are we together? So umeelewa tofauti ya a tumor that is benign and a tumor that is malignant or cancerous. Sasa. Do you believe and do you agree that all diseases have to do with rebellion? Either you do not want to comply with certain health principles, and that is the truth. So you end up catching what? Diseases of all sorts. Okay? And we'll be looking at the principles of health you need to comply with to avoid disease. Magonjwa inaletwa na raha. Tuko pamoja? Mention any one disease that does not come as a result of pleasure. Where restrictions are not entertained, sawa, you want to feel nice as you take sugary tea, sawa, you taste the ice cream, mnataka ile unga ya pakiti kwa sababu sijui inaiva haraka na ni nyepesi. So you want simple things. So that is how you end up getting what? All sorts of diseases. Not only cancer, including diabetes, hypertension, arthritis. Okay, what about infections? Sexual infections, it has to do with pleasure. What about malaria? Yeah, it has to do with somebody who is not interested in cleaning the compound. What about homa nyingi ambazo haziishi? Yeah, it has to do with somebody who is compromised cleanliness. Hutaki kutoa vumbi kwa nyumba. Bedding, hutaki kutoa nje. Sawa. You don't want to wash your clothes. You're sleeping in the same bed a third of your lifetime. You're inhaling mold from your bed. So, magonjwa ya raha. Sawa. But if you want to get rid of these diseases, you have to work hard to ensure cleanliness is observed. So, God told the children of Israel in Exodus 15:26 and said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord, and will do all that is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases that I brought among the Egyptians, because I'm your great physician. So, if there is a person who is interested in public health, it is God. And that is why he had designed areas for the children of Israel to set up a camp and ensure they are all clean everywhere. And then where waste is supposed to be disposed, those areas were set and marked. And people are not supposed to do these social activities in those areas. So there was a very clear demarcation between waste disposal areas and where people are living. So that if you read in Deuteronomy 23 verse 14, it says, ukienda choo, unachimba alafu unafunika. Because God is interested in public health more than anybody else. So we have so many diseases coming as a result of uncleanliness, and cancer is one of them. You don't want to take water so that you assist the body to clear the waste. Because you have so many dead cells on a daily basis, and they need to be gotten rid of. So watu ambao hawakunywi maji, you are dehydrated, you are like a camel. Ukunywi maji. Huh? Sawa sawa. Utatengeneza hump ya cancer. Anyway, so Exodus 23:25 says, you shall serve the Lord your God, and he shall bless your food and your water. By the way, any food that is not blessed by God is cursed. It will give you cancer. How? Najua mnakula vitu ambavyo Mungu hajabariki. Kama gani? Kama nguruwe, si ndio? A scavenger, an unclean animal. By the way, where do you get the guts to eat pork, you guys? Kitu inakula takataka. Huh? It's sweet, eh? Ile raha tumesema inaleta magonjwa. Haya, sawa sawa. You know, you think that God is only meting out or issuing laws. He is also scientific when giving those laws. All those animals that have been said to be unclean in the Bible, they will give you diseases. You can't eat a scavenger. Hey, man. Unakula nguruwe. Anyway, tukutana naye kwa ward, sawa? The top 10 cancers in the world. Do you know which are they? The first one is lung cancer, and you can go down the list. So. But interestingly, the 5 major cancers causing deaths, many deaths in the world: lung cancer, female breast cancer, colorectal cancer, prostate cancer, and skin cancer, they have to do with in fact, all of them, they have to do with a problem to do with irritants of the immune system. This is how we are going to narrow down so that we know how we are going to combat cancer. It's like all cancers center around a problem with your immune system. And I'll be proving to you in a few minutes. Now, cancer is what? It's said to be, there are so many cancers. Do you know how many cancers we have? There are so many, more than 200. Cancers, but they're all cancers. They all affect, they all behave the same way. So we have rapid multiplication of abnormal cells, and then the cells are later disseminated in the rest of the body, and you have what we call metastasis. One thing you cannot prevent: your cells have to divide, and during cell division, mistakes occur, and some cells are defective. So they are condemned, they have to die. And once they die, those cells must be eliminated by the body. If the body does not succeed in eliminating them, then you form a tumor. If you have a very strong immune system, so that that tumor is protected from getting out of its site, then you have a benign tumor. But if it gets out, then you have a malignant tumor. Now, the cancer burden in the world. Cancer is the leading cause of death globally. At least as of today, with an estimated 20 million new cases and 9.7 million deaths in 2022. So close to 10 million deaths occurred in 2022. That's a lot. Ukisikia KQ inaua watu 300 kila mwaka, that is enough for you to abandon using KQ. How many people? 300. But consider a disease that is killing 10 million people every year. Na watu wanakaa tu, hambabaiki, hamuoni ni shida. Uoni inaweza kukupata? And this is the high time we need to take up preventive measures. Kwa sababu kila mtu anaweza jipata. Why? Because you are making cancer cells on a daily basis. And we need to ensure all these cancer cells, we have built our immune system strong enough to get rid of them. Lakini, kama unatumia madawa ya kulevya, you know, the problem with substance abuse is you depress your immune system. So you send a different command your immune system is not used to. So you can also cause autoimmune diseases, meaning you may cause your immune system to fight one another. What we call friendly fire. The body is fighting against itself. And if you start fighting against yourself, that's how we get the cancers. Something else, approximately 1 in 5 people develop cancer in their lifetime. So mko wangapi? Mchukua watu 5 hapo. Angalia nyuma yako. Angalia nyuma yako. Mko wangapi? 6, 5. Sasa chagueni ni nani? Inua mkono kama ni wewe. Unaelewa? Among every 5 people, 1 is likely to do what? Yeah, that emphasizes the burden of this disease. Sawa sawa. Lung cancer is the most common, followed by breast and then colorectal cancer. Okay? In the year 2050, we might be talking of a dangerous pandemic. Now, let's look at the prevalence in Kenya. Huku kwetu Kenya, saratani kwa namna gani? The Mount Kenya region is leading in cancer cases. Kwa nini? Sedentary lifestyle, watu wataki kutembea, si ndio? Kila kitu kuketi chini. Alafu, nyinyi ni watu wa waru. Starch people. Starch people, they love starch. From Monday to Monday. Starch, 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 starch. Unajua vile Wakikuyu wanabadilisha chakula. Wakila githeri Monday, Tuesday, wanasema ni ugali. Na ni githeri bado. Sawa sawa. Githeri imekuliwa Monday, on Tuesday, ugali inakuliwa na beans. Sawa sawa. On Wednesday ni mchele, starch. Sawa sawa. On Thursday ni chapati, starch. Sawa? Na ngano iko na shida yake kwa breast cancer. The wheat we are using is called hybridized wheat. We need to be careful kwa sababu iko kwa mandazi, ile breakfast tulikula asubuhi. Iko kwa mkate. Okay? That is not the original wheat. So we need to minimize on wheat use. Sawa sawa, kwa sababu ya breast na thyroid cancer. Haya, on Friday, githeri, wanasema itengenezwe mukimo sasa. Iwekwe nini? Ndizi, iwekwe viazi, sawa sawa. Alafu, iwekwe mboga, the greens, lakini ziwe overcooked. You know, if you overcook greens, they become starch. So, unakula starch tena. So, on Saturday unasema sijakula ile ugali unairudisha tena. There's a problem here in Mount Kenya. You know, starch is for hard-working people, not sedentary people. So ukila starch, alafu unaketi chini, it causes inflammation. And now, consider this inflammation, it's on a daily basis, weekly basis, a whole year, another year. Eventually you get cancer. You can't be spared. And that is what is happening, okay? So the burden is high. 7% of cases, unfortunately, they are diagnosed in late stages. Kwa hivyo utasikia mtu amepatikana na colorectal cancer ama uterine cancer ina iko stage 4, unashangaa kulikwendaje? Kwa sababu there's a lot of space in the abdomen and cancer is not painful. Tuko pamoja? Yeah, when it is developing it's not painful. Pain kuna mali itakuja uko. So ndio sababu inafanya nini? Now this is the reason why so many people are having cancer. Okay? They do not want to take responsibility. Kwa hivyo mtu anasema hii kitu iko nyumbani. Hata fulani wetu alikuwa na saratani. Kwa hivyo I'm not exceptional. Let me tell you. Genetics may load the gun, but it is you to pull the trigger. You can be predisposed, but in the same family, we have people who don't get cancer. So meaning, there's something you are going to do to trigger the gun to explode. Dehydration, kukataa kunywa maji, kukataa kufanya exercise. We need to take up responsibility. Hiyo junk unakula. Sasa, unakaa kwa nyumba, huwezi ukatoka wote jua. Vitamin D, it's a very good immunotherapy against cancer. Na unataka kushinda tu hapa, where we don't have fresh air. Na kuna uwanja, sawa. Wakati watu wanaenda kucheza, unabaki umelala. Ama, si kuna characters kama hao. Watu wameenda kucheza, na anafanya nini? Ama hakuna hapa? Hebu tuachane na. So, please take up responsibility. Number 2. Wengine wanalaumu microorganisms. Okay? Sawa. But there's a lot of debate as far as issues to do. You know, cancer like cervical cancer, it's blamed on HP. Mushaisikia. Okay? But HPV is human papillomavirus. Human. The virus does not have any other host apart from human beings. So a baby, when it is born, it will acquire it directly from the mother. So why don't babies get cervical cancer? Yet their immunity is at their lowest. Mbona hawapati? That is why I'm saying stop blaming microorganisms. Blame yourself. Why does it have to wait when somebody is big and has an improved immune system? That is when it is starting. It has to do with something you have done, including multiple sexual partners and other sexual excesses. Like, si mutapata wasichana, hebu waambie, starting sex early will predispose them to cervical cancer. Sawa. Yeah. The cervix, it's among the organs in a lady that grow so late. It takes almost 25 years for the cervix to mature. Somebody is starting sex at 17. They are damaging an immature cervix. Unajua, anytime ukikutana na mwanaume, naongea kuhusu nyinyi, whatever you do, stop. Tuko pamoja? Because sperms and semen, that's a foreign material. Once it is received by the lady, it's like an organ transplant. So the immune system of the lady will start fighting. Now imagine you are meeting different men with different organ transplants. You're damaging the cervix. And if it starts early, before a lady matures at 25, That's a problem, eh? Nimeona wasichana wameanza kudevelop cervical cancer at 24. That's unusual. Okay? So we cannot blame HPV. We have to blame what we are doing. Demon possession. Wengine wanasema ati ni pepo. Na wanaenda kuombewa pepo. Pepo ya saratani. Saratani ya mapafu. Lung cancer. As a result of smoking. Na umeenda kuombewa utolewe pepo. Ni pepo gani unataka utolewe? You have to stop smoking, please. It's the high time you accepted reality. Usiseme cervical cancer ni pepo. You have to stop sexual immorality and have one partner who is legal. Okay? An unshared partner. Huh? So. Wengine wanasema ni witchcraft. Yule jirani yangu unaenda kwa mganga anakuambia aje? Siku na vibao huwa vimeandikwa kwa mganga kutoka Kitui, alafu wanajua kuweka zile sehemu watu wanaogopa kwa uchawi. Kwa hivyo wanasema mganga kutoka Kitui ama mganga kutoka Tanga anafanya nini? Anafanya nini? Ongeza nguvu za kiume, analinda biashara, anafanya nini? Okay? So when you go to these people and pretend that is witchcraft, you know what they are going to tell you? It's about your neighbor. It's about who? Diseases are not as a result of witchcraft. Can you take up responsibility? Unaenda kwa mganga kwambia ukunywe maji, umekataa kunywa maji. Alafu unataka usikie ni neighbor. Traditions, culture. Wengine wanalaumu serikali, wengine wanasema hivyo ndivyo ilikuwa iwe fate. So they surrender to what we call fate. Na wengine wanalaumu Mungu, shida zao wenyewe wanalaumu Mungu. Now these are the approaches that will not help us to combat cancer. And one of them, symptomatic management of cancer is not going to help. If that tumor is removed, sawa, kile kilifanya hiyo tumor ije is still there. So a tumor is just a symptom, but there's something that caused that tumor, and that one has to be addressed. Mnaelewa hii mambo? Ati kuondoa the tumor is not the solution. Tuko pamoja? So if I burn the tumor or I poison it with chemotherapy, remember Joyce Laboso, she undergone a complete cycle of chemotherapy for cervical cancer in 1993. But later she developed. So she did not address the causative factors. So that is why she got ovarian cancer later and she died. So symptomatic management, will not address. Even if they are vaccinating for cancer. Siku hizi Russia wametengeneza vaccine ya cancer. So vaccine ya cancer haitakuondolea kunywa maji. You have to drink water if you are needed. You have to exercise if you are needed. Utaacha kula waru na vaccine haitaondoa tamaa yako ya waru. Ama utafikiria itaondoa? Hiyo mambo ya kula starch on a daily basis. Sasa not eating fruits, vegetables, okay? And sometimes, or most of the times, people would prefer to eat something that is causing a lot of salivation, that is stimulating the taste buds. Your tongue has 5 tastes: sugar, salty, bitter, sour, and umami, taste. But some people prefer salty and sugary tastes. So they reject the bitter. Hawataki kusikia vitu chungu kama saga, kama managu. Hata managu akila kwanza wana boil, alafu wanafanya nini? Wanamwaga hayo maji. Okay? Because they don't want bitter things. You've forgotten that any substance that will reverse your disease has to be bitter, including the drug. So uzuri mujizoeshe kutumia the bitter things. Now, screening has not helped. But the first war on cancer was declared officially in 1971. Now, wali emphasize on screening, but today, the number of deaths as a result of cancer is still increasing. Na niwaambia, mahali pengine cancer ziko hazijulikani until their later stages. So screening may not help. Behavior is going to help. And by behavior we mean we need to have some lifestyle changes. Mambo ya nutrition, watu waache kula junk. Taking of water, exercise. People have to bask in the sun. People should know how to manage their stress, their depression, and their anxiety. Okay? Especially hii era ya ushuru. Tunaona? The stress that comes with trying to manage a small salary. Okay? So many needs, but you don't have enough to address those needs. Inaleta stress, but we need to be very good stress. Free lifestyle. Watu wanataka kuwa free, yeah? Then the other problem is free lifestyle means you do not want to observe certain health principles. So you don't want to exercise, you don't want to take water, sasa. You don't want to have adequate sleep. One of the causes of cancer is lack of adequate sleep. And the other thing, compartmentalization of cancer. Ati mtu akiwa na kansa ya gozi, dermatologist. Ukiwa na kansa ya cervix, gynecologist. Ukiwa na kansa ya tumbo, gastroenterologist. Ukiwa na kansa ya mapafu, pulmonologist. But all those cancers have been caused by the same factors. But when it comes to management, they are managed by different doctors. And mtu akikuchoma kansa ya kifua, hajali ya kwamba figo italete shida, hajali ya kwamba matumbo italete shida. Because, you know, the body is one. The blood that supplies your lungs, your kidneys, your brain, your eyes is the same blood that supplies your toes, your fingers, your skin, everywhere. So there is no compartmentalization of blood. And that is why dirty blood, malnourished blood will cause disease anywhere in the body. But the problem is you name that disease depending on the organ affected. And the organ affected has a special doctor for it. So this compartmentalization is not helping. We need to address the whole body. Then commercial interests. Kuna wengine sasa wanasema hii ni biashara. Kwa hivyo, if we educate and emphasize and sensitize people, labda watajua. So we have companies that are selling very expensive drugs and they have interest in money. So if any research comes out to help the people to know how to combat cancer, they mask it, they stop it from getting into the public. Kwa hivyo nyinyi mnakaa na ignorance yenu, mwishowe cancer inafanya nini? We have cancer is an industry. Kuna watu wana inadequate education and skilled media. I've talked about those ones. People need to be educated. Poisoning of the immune system. Now, some of the ways in which cancer is managed destroys the immune system. Okay? For example, you know, some chemo is extremely devastating. It can knock down your immune system. Now, if it knocks down the immune system, you know what happens? The cancer becomes worse. Okay? Is everything okay? Okay. And then we have miracles. Kuna watu wanaenda kwa award wafanyiwe muujiza wa kuondoa saratani. Yeah. Those are fake approaches. Now, the true causes of cancer are these. These are the factors we need to address if we want to overcome cancer. Number one, we need to obey health principles because rebellion is not going to work for good for us, okay? And some of the health principles we need to observe is nutrition. So we need to observe good nutrition. The best nutrition for cancer is whole plant-based foods. Whole plant-based foods. Najua vyakula vya shambani viko na shida kwa sababu zingine they are harvested when they have been sprayed and you end up ingesting these chemicals, but they are not as bad. You can wash them, sawa. Wash them clean before you cook, and that will give you a better chance. So whole, now I'm saying whole, meaning it should not be processed. Unaweza kula unga ya pakiti, but it's not whole. Okay, it is plant-based, but it's not whole. So we mean whole plant-based foods. Those are the best. They will give you the best chance for cancer. Alafu huyu jamaa Ruto akituletea GMO tutaisha. Because GMO food has caused cancers among rats which were used for experiments. Okay? It has caused testicular cancer, breast cancer, liver cancer. So ukiona GMO wachana nayo. Ibaya sana. Now, we know parents are ignorant. Na ni wazazi gani tunasema? Nyinyi. Okay? So the ignorance of parents will affect their babies. There are some mothers who do not know that you cannot replace breast milk with any other nutrition for the baby. So you know what they do? And you have these ways at home. You are starting babies with other foods early, before their digestive system is mature. Now, because the guidelines have said 6 months, but the nature of the baby does not allow food at 6 months. The maturity of the digestive system occurs during their first birth. Ndio wanaanza kutoa molars at 1 year. Any food started before 1 year, it is going to start a slow pace of development of cancer. Kama sio cancer, allergies. Na allergies zingine zinatritiwa kama pneumonia kwa hospitali. But they came as a result of starting food early. Kwa sababu huyu madhe anataka kurudi job, kurudi shule. Okay? So you got a baby, but you have no time for that baby to react. The baby requires foundation, at least for the first 5 years. Na wacha niwaambie, unajua mimi nikikuja kujijua, nilikuta watoto wa miaka 5 wakinyonya. Anaenda anacheza huko, anaona mama yake ndiye anatoka anaenda, anamsimamisha kwanza. Mwambie ninyonye, wewe uende soko, alafu anarudi kucheza. Ushaisikia hiyo? Unashangaa hiyo ni nini ilikuwa? Sawa. Mothers did not have hiyo nini. Mothers wa kitambo, they had very good bonding for their children. And that is why hakukuwa na so many cases of indiscipline. Mother wa mtu alikuwa mtu wa kuheshimiwa. Unaona mtoto na the mother, the parents, that strong bond. Na akiambiwa kitu, anasikia. Lakini siku hizi, because we have detachment, babies are detached from their mothers early. Angalia relationship iko between those children and the parents. They don't respect their parents. Wengine niliona wakihug mama zao, na ni jamaa kama huyo. Anahug mama yake, anamshika hapa. What is that? Ama hiyo iko sawa? Iko sawa? This is indiscipline, immorality. Unataka kuquote with nice terms. That's not love. There should be a boundary, okay? So, breast milk is very important. Unfortunately, hawa watoto wananyimwa maziwa. Okay, mama anakataa kula vizuri, maziwa inaisha. Then cosmetic industry. Cosmetic industry, and they are all targeted against women. The problem with cosmetic industry, it is not regulated. They will introduce dangerous chemicals without regulation. So utakuta katika hizo products, na unajua ziko ukiona hizo categories ni nyingi. Kuna hair food, na hair food iko na many items. Kuna shampoo, kuna sijui za kupam, kuna sijui setters, kuna kuna glossing, all those they are many. Ukuje kwa nini, kwa hapa tu na kuta kuna mascara sijui nini, wanja, face, we have body lotions, we have deodorants, we have perfumes, colognes, foundations, we have huku unakuta kuna manicure, pedicure, and then in all these substances, if a woman applies these chemicals when she's pregnant, they end up getting to the baby. And scientists have taken samples of blood from a baby who is growing in the mother's womb, and they have found these chemicals. Because the skin, si mabati ya gari. Unajua, women have converted their skin kuwa kama mabati ya gari. This is a living tissue, Anything you apply on it, it is going to get in. So the message you are going to take back to your wives and to your whoever, waambie hiyo vitu ni baya. Inaleteka? No wonder these chemicals are called forever chemicals. So when you have time, Google forever chemicals. And on my YouTube channel, I've talked a lot about forever chemicals, how they are destroyed. The worst of these chemicals is something we call mercury, that is in hair food. Mercury, another one is called paraben, another one is called phthalate. They are causing uterine cancer, cervical cancer, infertility, all sorts of problems. Now, because the mother interacts a lot with the rest of the human beings, she will transmit the same chemicals to the children she's cooking for, to the husband she's cooking for, to the husband who sleeps with her the whole night, inhaling those chemicals from the hair. Na kuna chemical kengine kanakuwa kwa perfumes kanaitwa toluene. It is the one that makes the perfume to spread. Unaona mtu wear perfume here Now toluene causes asthma. It also causes thyroid disease. It causes inflammation of the skin. Hii shida za ngozi zimekuwa nyingi. Now we also have bleaching creams. Unaona mtu alikuwa mweusi mzuri sana with a pigment that is able to withstand African sun, lakini sasa anataka kuwa mzuri. Do you know, once you change your skin color, do you know what is happening? You are altering your DNA. Are we together? So if you change your DNA, what is that? You are growing a cancer. And then sedentary lifestyle, SDA. So how to manage stress, depression, anxiety? Here it's a problem. And then pollution. You've ever heard of water, air, and land pollution? What we fear most in all pollutants is the property of chemicals we call non-biodegradability. Inability of a chemical to break down and join the carbon cycle. So that is why we say we don't want plastics, we don't want these paper bags, okay? Sawa. Now those chemicals that are used to manufacture plastics, na wale watu wanavalia nguo ambazo ni waterproof. Zile carpets unaona ni waterproof. The same chemical, non-biodegradable. Now when it comes to cosmetic products, we have another pollution we call body pollution. So the same chemicals destroy the land, the air, the water, the same way it destroys the body. Na hizi zote zinachangia saratani. Dehydration, those people who have refused to take water. Okay? Maji iko. And some of, the things that improve your health are easily accessible. They are almost free. Breathing fresh air. When you exercise, you breathe fresh air. And cancer hates people who breathe properly. What I mean is, oxygen, it's a therapy against cancer. So that if you train yourself to breathe properly, nose breathing, exercise, get a lot of fresh open air, you can stop cancer from growing. Okay? So those things are free. Ni zile mboga, unakuta hata unaweza patiwa na mtu bure. Mwambie, ingia tu huko, chune hiyo majani. Ni terere, ni managu, unachuna, na mtu hakuulizi. Hiyo ndio dawa ya cancer. Sasa. The things that bring cancer, they are very expensive. For example, ukitaka kununua nyama, nguruwe. Ama nyama zingine, ni pesa ngapi? Pesa ngapi? Kuna nyama iko chini ya 600 kweli, kilo moja. Lakini managu utapatiwa bure na mtu. Na terere. Sasa, hizo nyama zinakuletea saratani. Okay? Because the way animals are being reared today, people have interest in money. So they want an animal that will gain weight in 1 year, 2 years, and it is sold off. So they are zero grazed. And why are they zero grazed? Because they don't want them to lose weight. So it's about weight increase. So they are zero grazed, they don't have fresh air, where they sleep is damp, okay? Poor air circulation, chemicals, because they're injected with chemicals, and sometimes they're given low doses of antibiotics to make them grow fast. So all these chemicals are transferred to their meat, which you go to buy. Na wanyama ambao wanapelekwa kichinjio, wengine wameletwa usiku, wakati hakuna sheria, wakiwa wagonjwa. Unajua mtu akishika ng'ombe mgonjwa, anapeleka kwa kichinjio, watu wataona, wewe, umepeleka. Lakini hii inaletwa usiku bwana. Asubuhi nyama iko. Na hujui ni nyama ya nini. Wengine wamekula mbwa. Sasa, wengine wamekula paka, wengine wamekula. Hii Kenya. It's about money. People have no interest in your health. So kama unachukua tu samosa ati kwa sababu iko na nyama, fikiria vizuri sana. Okay? Wakati mmoja nikiwa Nairobi, jamaa alitupikia hii mandege huwa inatoka huku Mombasa, inatua pale City Cabanas. Kuna miti ilikuwa hapo kabla hawajajenga hiyo barabara. So mandege wanakuja, wamechoka. Usiku wamefika, jioni, so wanalala kwa huo mti. So nikipita hapo nikienda kazi, nikuta wengine wameanguka. Kumbe majamaa wanaenda saa 11. Wanatuma wachukura, wanaenda wanaweka kwa gunia. Alafu inaingizwa mkuru kwa jenga iko hapo Imara Daima. Sasa wanakata miguu, wanapatia machukura waende watupe huko. Unakuja mchana. Unaitisha ugali na kuku. Na ni cheap bana, 30 bob, unakula nyama na ugali. So when I discovered kupe nakula the craze, zinaitwaje? Ndege wabaya sana, wachafu. Okay? Hiyo ndio tunakula. Unaona vile magonjwa yanafanya nini? So Kenyans have no interest in your health. You have to take charge, you have to be intelligent. If you become stupid, wewe utaacha wengine. So very important, eh? Intemperance, excesses of anything. For example, drug abuse will lower immune system, and if you kick your immune system down, diseases will come. Kwa hivyo hii mambo ya substance abuse, we are not taking it lightly, because it is killing your immune system. The only defense against cancer inaenda in the name of substance abuse. Sawa sawa. Then you have indoor lifestyle, watu ambao hawana wakati wa kuota jua, and rest. You don't have adequate rest, at least 7 hours to 8 hours of good sleep. Sawa sawa. So did you know that uncleanliness can induce diseases? According to this writer, neglect of cleanliness will cause disease. I'll give you an example. Tell me what you see in this picture. Unaona nini? Najua ni vizuri kusaidiana, eh? So what do you see in this picture? You can see soldiers fighting, isn't it? Now, do you know that your immune system fights for you in the same way these soldiers are fighting? So if there's a system in the body that is always on its toes to guard you against infections, against cancer, it is the immune system. But in one of the instances, or in the process of fighting for you, something happens. Something happens. What do you see here? Huh? We have dead soldiers. So in the process of fighting for you, some cells die. When they die, in a normal battlefield scenario, what will happen if these soldiers who are dead, if they are not, maybe some are injured, injured to the extent they need to be supported to gain health. But what will happen if these soldiers are not evacuated, including the dead ones, and those who are badly injured? What will happen? So the badly injured will die, isn't it? Now, if they die, what will happen if they are not evacuated or removed from that scene? They'll start to decompose, isn't it? If they decompose, what will happen? Pollution. They will pollute that atmosphere. And a dead body, it's so bad that it can grow molds and cause what we call airborne diseases that are very toxic. Now, when cells die in the body has to do something, and first of all is to get rid of those cells, and they are taken out through the elimination systems like the kidneys, the lungs, okay, the colon. The body may manage to get rid of those cells. Now, if you do not have a very effective excretory mechanism, what do you think will happen? Unafikiria nini kitafanyika? If your excretion mechanism is not effective, it could have been suppressed by alcohol, by drugs you could be using, and therefore you weaken your elimination system. What will happen when you're not able to eliminate waste? There will be waste accumulation in the body of dead cells. Now, what happens when dead cells accumulate somewhere? The body tries to wrap them with a capsule, and then it keeps putting up more layers of a capsule until you form a tumor. Now, because those are dead cells, they are likely to grow fungus in them because that is a dead tissue. The same way these bodies will grow fungus. And sometimes that fungus can grow and spread and even cause the blood vessels overlying that tumor to break down and start bleeding. Some cancers can bleed, like cervical cancer. They can and breast cancer. They can bleed. So, to the extent it's going to become a cancerous tumor and then can spread because there was no evacuation. These dead cells were not removed from the body. So that is how cancer grows. Where did it start? Dead cells, they have to die. Cells that are fighting for you sometimes die. The body has to eliminate them. It fails to eliminate them simply because you're dehydrated, you're taking drugs, you do not have good nutrition, you are not exercising, because when you exercise, you sweat and remove those dead cells. So you have tumors. And that is how you end up getting cancerous tumors. So uncleanliness or dirty blood will cause formation of tumors. Okay? I also talked about animals. Now, the problem with animals, according to this writer, is they are fattened with chemicals. And one of the chemicals used for fattening cows so that they gain weight is steroids. So chakula ya ng'ombe ile ya kununua iko na steroids. People are interested in what? Now, steroids are so bad when it comes to human tissues that are sensitive to hormones, like breast, sensitive to hormones, prostate kwa wanaume, it is also sensitive to hormones, uterus, uterine cancer. So these fattened animals that have been using steroids will cause uterine, breast, thyroid cancer, prostate cancer. Tuko pamoja? And little wonder that those cancers are among the leading top 10 cancers in the world because of that. So assume unatumia hii nyama, unatumia ngano. Si tumesema we have to minimize on wheat. Ama hamjajua mambo ya wheat. So when they are fattened, they are often confined in closed stables. Nataka ujue hawa ng'ombe wanateseka. You just enclose yourself into a room and you're not coming out. You will start experiencing body weakness, exhaustion, and allergies immediately. Now, these cows are not allowed to move because they want them to gain weight. They are not permitted to exercise. They don't have free circulation of air. Many poor animals are left to breathe the poison of filth, which is left in barns and stables. So, wananyesha na hicho kinyesi ndicho wanafanya nini? Wanapumua. How many people would tolerate having a toilet that does not have a flushing system inside the house? Choo ambayo haisongi iko kwa nyumba. How many people would tolerate? Nani anaweza stahimili kitu kama hicho? Lakini ng'ombe iko sawa ikilalia kinyesi chake. Ni kweli? Ng'ombe iko sawa ikilalia kinyesi. That is okay. Is that okay? It is not okay. It's or you think it's an animal, so it doesn't deserve justice. So if it has to suffer, continue to suffer that way, it end up poisoning its meat, na ni wewe utakula hiyo nyama. So utapata TB kwa sababu ng'ombe alikuwa na nini? Utapata pneumonia kwa sababu ng'ombe alikuwa na nini? That's how zoonotic diseases are spread. Diseases from animals to what? Animals to humans. So their lungs will not long remain healthy while inhaling such impurities. Okay, so their lungs contract disease. The disease is conveyed to the liver, to the entire system of the animal is diseased. So because the blood is not limited to one organ, wherever the blood circulates, it continues to disseminate those toxins or poisons. So then they are killed and prepared for the market. The people eat freely of this poisonous food. Much disease is caused in this manner, but people cannot be made to believe that it is the meat they have eaten which has poisoned their blood and their sufferings. Lakini watu hawataki kukubali ya kwamba kumbe nyama ambao walikula ndio inasababisha nini? Ndio inasababisha nini? Saratani. That's the reality. Usiseme kwa sababu ni ng'ombe, it's an animal. It doesn't deserve cleanliness. The same way you need to be clean is the same way this animal needs to be kept in a clean environment. Ebu nitawafunza kitu kuhusu saratani ili uelewe ni nini hii. Number one thing I need to teach you is all those tissues where cancer grows, all of them. Mention any cancer, but any tissue where cancer grows has what we call a high regenerative capacity. These are cells that are taking less than 1 day up to 3 days to regenerate. So we have the first area where those cells are growing so fast called the epithelium. Epithelium ni nini? It is the external lining of all the body organs. So we are talking of your digestive system, your skin, the membranes in your eyes, the nose, okay? The area in the breast where you have the milk ducts and epithelium. And by the most common cancer, the most common type of breast cancer, the most common one, affects the milk ducts. Milk ducts, because there's an epithelium, a layer, that is very sensitive to hormones, divides very fast, okay, and protects the milk in the milk duct from the outside environment. So most cancers, most breast cancers come from. And do you know that, have you ever seen a girl who does not have breasts with breast cancer? You don't. So breast cancer only starts after breasts have formed and they have started to become functional. Okay? In fact, you rarely find breast cancer in women who have not started sexual activities. You don't find it because it has to do with something that is stimulating the breast, either hormones, sexual activity, lactation, and that is when the breast cancer now starts. So something else, the cells that are functional, okay, very active in the body, are also prone to cancer. So that is why you find that in the lung, where we have the most common cancer in the world, once you inhale air, you can inhale air together with toxins, but remember, the lungs are not like the digestive system. The digestive system has an intake and it has an exit. For the lungs, it only has an entrance. So when things go in, they don't come out easily. Now when they come out in form of a cold, they irritate, and your body's natural mechanism is to force those toxins to come out in form of a cough. Lakini ukisikia unakohoa, unataka kuzima hiyo cough na dawa ya kukohoa. Sasa, we do not encourage that. Cough is protective. It helps you to get rid of the toxins. Therefore, we have to allow it to continue. Otherwise, if those toxins accumulate, then they will end up giving you asthma, lung cancer, okay? Because they are going to irritate that layer, the same layer we are talking about, the lining in the lungs, okay? That is where now cancer develops. The other tissues that are likely to get cancer, they are rapidly dividing, are the liver cells, okay? By the way, liver cancers are also common. It is the only system in the body that helps you. It's one of the systems in the body that helps you to get rid of waste. It breaks down waste. We can call it a sewerage plant, okay? Where all the waste is managed. Tuko pamoja? The part of the body where waste is managed is called the liver. Sawa sawa? Tuko pamoja? And that is why those who have eaten the liver, does it taste like other meat? Iko na kachumvi. Iko na a taste in a 10 kuwa ya chumvi, si ndio? Si ni kweli? That is waste. Sawa sawa? And some people are tempted to eat the liver, thinking it has a lot of blood. Thinking that when we need to increase blood in the body, we have to eat blood. Si ungekunywa damu? Yeah? So there's a different mechanism, there's a different process of manufacturing of blood, which is not eating the liver. Sasa. If there are some organs, even if you have to eat meat, if there are some organs you need to avoid, it is the liver and the kidney. Because this is a waste management organ. So talk of any biological waste, you find it either in the liver or the kidney. Na hiyo ndio vitu unataka kula. And you want to be free from cancer. We need to be careful, isn't it? Now, the good thing about the liver, by the way, alcohol destroys the liver. The good thing about the liver is that you can destroy up to 90% of your liver. 90%. But if you stop the offenders, the alcohol, the meat, the commercial oils, and other toxins, the liver starts to regenerate. Now, what you had been left with was 10%. Amazingly, that 10% will become 100% if you stop those offenders. So that is how interesting and wonderful the liver is. You just need to stop those toxins that are destroying the liver, okay? So it's a highly regenerative tissue, and the other cells is what we call the HSC cells. These are cells that make your blood. The cells that make your blood. They are also called the cells of the immune system. They multiply rapidly. Why? The body is challenged by invaders on a daily basis. Therefore, the immune system has to be so quick in growing new cells to combat the upcoming new challenges. Okay? So that is why they grow so fast. Unfortunately, the same cells die as faster as they regenerate. And they can have mistakes as they continue to divide. Now, the problem with those mistakes is that it causes the death of those cells. And if the death comes and your body is not supported with good nutrition, good rehydration, exercise, it will not be able to get rid of those dead cells. So what will happen? They will accumulate, form a tumor, and some of these tumors will be cancerous. And they will grow so fast. Why? The site where they are growing, it's also a highly regenerative site. Tuweze kufanya. So we have these types of cancers, but I give you good news. You only need to be interested with the first type of cancer called the carcinoma. And I'll tell you the reason. Because that is the cancer that forms in the layer of your body where you have the most immune cells. It's the front line. 90% of all cancers come from that epithelial tissue. And what we mean by epithelium, it's the lining like your digestive system. Ni kama ile inafanya ukuta between what is outside and what is inside. Okay? That is what we call. So in the prostate, that is common among men. By the second leading cancer among men is prostate cancer. Kansa ya prostate huwa inaanza ile kifuniko ya juu ya prostate. Hapo ndipo inaanza. Because huko juu ni mkojo ambayo inaweza kuwa na chemicals kama alcohol, cigarette, chemicals. Upande wa nyuma kuna choo ambayo mtu amekula nyama, amekula nini. So it irritates that capsule. And then the tumor starts forming from, including the issue of hormones. It's a hormone-sensitive tissue, okay? So most of the cancers will come from the rapidly dividing cells, the carcinomas. But we also have to look at these two because they are also rapidly dividing. They are cells of the immune system. And cancer is interested in cells that are rapidly dividing. Now, I'll tell you something interesting about the characteristics of those tissues. The major characteristic of those tissues where cancer forms is that they are rapidly dividing. That is number one, high capacity to regenerate. Number two is that they do not have a lot of blood supply. Okay? They don't have a lot of blood supply. And sometimes, because they don't have a lot of blood supply, you need to exercise, to take a lot of water to ensure that they also benefit from blood supply. And they are also very sensitive to chemicals, okay? Whether it's the skin sensitive to UV damage, so they are sensitive to chemicals. So for that reason, if they have cancer, they'll be the first to suffer damage and to grow the cancer very fast. I'll tell you something interesting about cancer. Do you know we have organs in the body that you will never, but rarely, if any, find cancer? Ushaifikiria? Ushaiambiwa na mtu ati akona kansa ya moyo? Have you ever heard of heart cancer? That's an organ that you rarely find cancer. Why? I think we can pick lessons from these organs and somehow get the cure for cancer here. Because we'll be looking at, A, what is in the heart that prevents it from getting cancer. The other organ where you rarely find cancer are the skeletal muscles. Inaweza kuwa, lakini rarely. So huwezi ukapata mtu akona kansa ya kithai, sawa sawa, ama ya biceps, sawa sawa. So muscles rarely get cancer, skeletal muscles. Now, I'll tell you of another organ that you can be certain it will never get what we call primary cancer. Cancer will never start in the spleen. Spleen unajua ni nini? By the way, unajua kama uko nayo? Mnaruka tu huku, hujui kama uko na spleen na hutaki kujua kama inakusaidia. So below under your ribs, the last two ribs, hapo ndani kuna spleen. The other name for the spleen is the blood bank. In any case, you're involved in an accident and you bleed a lot. What will make the casualty, the victim, to arrive in hospital and somehow survive is the spleen. If the spleen is not damaged, because it keeps pumping. As you lose blood, keeps pumping more blood. So what we find, somebody who have lost a lot of blood, we go to the spleen and we find, oh, ilingangana ikashi. Yeah, because if the spleen is supposed to be red, but you look onto it unakuta ilipatiana damu yote. Sawa. So the spleen never gets cancer unless that cancer has come from somewhere else. For example, the leukemias. The leukemias can spread cancer to the spleen. We need to learn what is in the spleen that gives it protection against cancer. Now somehow we may get the solution to cancer. Okay? I'll tell you of another organ that rarely gets cancer, the brain. Yes? Sorry? It is the blood bank. Wengu. Hapana, hiyo unasema ni kongosho, the pancreas, I mean the spleen. Sijui. Lakini spleen inaitwa wengu, So the brain rarely gets what we call cancer, unless the cancer is coming from somewhere else. Yeah. We have very few tumors that may grow in the brain, and if you have a tumor growing in the brain, it has either come from somewhere else or it's a rare tumor, okay, which are not so common. And then the small intestine rarely gets, by the way, large intestine will get so many cancers, but not the small intestine. Why? I'll tell you of a cell that rarely gets leukemia, the red blood cell. Kwa hivyo utapata mtu amekufa, Bob Colemo amekufa kwa blood cancer. Sijui nasikia huyu mtu wenu ako na leukemia. Si mnajua mtu wenu ni nani? Okay? Lakini the red blood cell haipati. Why? Maybe these organs are going to give us the solution for cancer. Now, what do you think is in the heart? And I think this discussion should be the final one to help us know how we can manage cancer. What do you think it's in the heart that gives it protection against cancer? Have you ever tried to imagine? What are the properties the heart has in order to protect it against cancer? Number one, the heart, it's a moving organ. It's always moving. Now, what does that tell you? Movement is life. The heart is the last organ to disappoint you at the point of your death. In fact, it is the last to stop. Now that tells you what? Even somebody who is dying of stage 4 cancer that has metastasized to all organs, to the brain, to the lungs, to the liver, the only organ that will be spared are these ones we have listed. And your heart will support you until the time you die. Anyway, it is the last to surrender. Ikiona, Unajua huwa inachunguza because there are signals. Inatuma messages. So, oh, liver ishaenda. Kaka inasikia, kidney imefanya nini? Kaka inasikia, umekuwa brain dead. Brain imefanya nini? Asema wacha niende tu. Sawa. So the secret of the heart is movement. Do you know that the heart is the second most oxygenated organ in the body after the lungs? It receives what we call the primary blood. The blood that has just been oxygenated in the lungs. It first of all gets into the fresh and full of nutrients into the heart before it goes anywhere else. Meaning, principle number 2, we need to follow. We have to improve oxygenation. How do we improve oxygenation? We have to exercise. That's number 1. Then we have to use a molecule or a compound that has ionized oxygen. How do we get ionized oxygen? Very important for healing of cancer. What is the formula of water? H2. You see that oxygen? That's medicine for cancer. Sawa. It is in ionized form. Hebu tukunywe maji na tuache mchezo. Okay? That's how water is important. Another property of the heart that gives it an advantage against cancer it does not accumulate waste. No waste accumulates in the heart. So that tells you what? Get rid of waste. And how do you get rid of waste? I just want you to use 4 elimination mechanisms in the body. They are only 4. They are not more than that. Hebu kojoa. Najua kuna watu wanataka kuwa wastaarabu. Ati akikosa kukojoa ndio anajigamba. Sasa unajua mimi sio mtu wa kukojoa ovyo ovyo. Acha kuuzi. Sawa. If you don't pass urine, you have no chance. Because it is a major elimination mechanism that gets rid of waste. Number 2, you have to move your bowels as frequently as you eat. So kama unakula mara 3, we expect you to move your bowels how many times? 3 times. So mambo ya kujigamba kifua ati wewe unakwenda haja kubwa mara moja tu na unaketisha watu pale unawapatia story. Nenda choo urudi. Sawa. Bowel movements is a secret against colon and rectal cancer. So if you have a problem with bowel movements, fanyiwa screening. So we expect if you eat once, you move your bowels once. If you eat twice, you move your bowels twice. If you eat 3 times, it is not recommended to eat 3 times. But if you eat 3 times, you have to move your bowels 3 times. Usiwe jipiga kifua kama hujaenda choo. That point should be very clear. The third elimination mechanism, you have to sweat your skin. So mambo ya kutumia antiperspirants ati hutaki. Unaona tumefika mahali tumeona kutoa jasho is uncivilized. Ama unaona unakwaza watu. Sawa. But you know, sweat is not supposed to smell if you have a clean body. Watu ambao sweat yao inanuka because the blood is dirty. So take a lot of water. Sawa. Can you allow your body to sweat? One of the ways you are restricting sweat, applying these dense creams because they are going to, you smear the pores of your skin with those creams and you prevent your skin from sweating. So you are hindering the third elimination mechanism. And if you hinder it, what will happen? You have very poor circulation, very poor aeration, and you'll not be able to eliminate waste. Na unajiita mustaarabu. Sasa. That is why the most vital organs in the body, on top of them, they have the largest population of pores. Hiyo mashimo ya kutoa sweat. And that is why where we have many pores is where we have hair. Any area in your body that has hair is a sweating area and has a vital organ. So God has designed to protect those organs. You have to do what? You have to sweat. You have to eliminate waste. So. And that is why we are not supposed to do what we call clean shaving. Because hair, we are not supposed to allow hair to overgrow, and we are not supposed to do clean shaving. Do you understand what is clean shaving? Clean shaving is bad. Ila watu unaona kichwa ina shine. Yeah? The problem is clean shaving can irritate the hair follicles, can kill them, and you can lose hair. Or if the hair is coming out, it can grow inwards and return waste. Because hair, it's also a mechanism of elimination of waste. So, the heavy metals are eliminated where we have the body hair. So do not allow your hair to grow so long that it is turning against or growing too long until it turns back to your skin. You should not allow that because you'll be taking back the waste into the skin. And we should also ensure that once you should also ensure that areas with hair are frequently cleaned because they have a lot of waste. So, mwambie wake zenu, hii mambo ya kichwa inamaliza wiki moja, haijakutana na maji. Huyo ni mke wako? Si wako? Kama kuna mahali kuna hitaji usafi, niki kichwa. Otherwise we'll be keeping the toxins there. Yes. Sorry? To do what? To sweat where? Oh, yeah, because you have pores. It's okay. Lakini, there are people who have a problem with sweating because of, it has to do with genes in the family. But the sweating by itself is not wrong. Okay? Tuko pamoja? It is not wrong. It's healthy. It's acceptable. And the fourth elimination mechanism is the lungs. So you need to get rid of carbon dioxide by exercising, by practicing what we call proper breathing using the nostrils. And something else is, you see the spleen. Because if you learn about the secrets of the spleen, I can be sure you never get cancer. I'll tell you some amazing facts about the spleen. One of them is the spleen does not have sugar. It doesn't have sugar. Now this means what? Sugar is the leading cause of inflammation in the body, all these cancers. Eliminate sugar in your diet. Number two, concerning the spleen, is it has a large supply of blood. So that is how it's able to recycle waste and get rid of that waste. Anything that is going to improve blood supply is going to help you against cancer. And the only thing that has been found to improve blood supply is exercise. We have to exercise. So, to increase our blood supply. Then there's something else. The spleen, because of being close to the diaphragm, it's always moving up and down, up and down, up and down. So one of the secrets of life or good health is movement. So don't forget that. Movement is life. Ukiona mtu anaketi chini na hajafanya exercise, na hana program ya exercise, you are very unfair to your body. And lastly, the red blood cell. Now, the reason why you never find cancer of the red blood cell is because it does not have the DNA. It doesn't have a nucleus. Because any cell with a DNA, a nucleus, has to divide. This one doesn't have a DNA, and therefore it doesn't divide. So for the same reason, the brain neurons or nerves rarely grow. So once you attain what we call the recommended amount of neurons, for example, in a baby that is growing, the time you find there's an area here that is open and then it has closed after 2 years, the brain does not expand further, okay? You can only learn things by what we call interlinking between those neurons. But you have enough neurons after 2 years for the rest of your life. So nerves do not grow. And for that reason, they rarely get cancer. There's nothing we can do about stopping the cells from growing, but we can use the secrets of the spleen, the heart, okay, to avoid what? Cancer. Thank you so much. We've come to the end of this. If there is any question, okay, stop. You can ask.